here comes the boom. Yet another Adam Sandler-backed movie that leaves you wondering whether, in fact, he is some extraordinary Svengali figure, because how else do you explain the success of Kevin James? I did a blog on bbc.co.uk/Mark Kermode as a kind of thing about, people are talking about The Master. We're going to review The Master fully next week. We're very conscious of this. The Master is only playing in London at the moment, and I've seen it and I loved it, and there's much to talk about. But it opens next week. We've done an interview with Paul Thomas Anderson, which we talked about this. We're going to play it next week because it seems to us that just playing it in the week when you can only see it in London is not actually what most people want.
It's very frustrating.
Very frustrating. So we're holding it back, and we have got correspondence about it.
But it's there.
It is there. No, it's there.
It's done.
What?
The Paul Thomas Anderson chat.
Yes, it's done. Yes, it's done. Yeah, and he said say hi to you. And
excellent.
Anyway, so that was all good. So that will go out next week when the film opens wide. But meanwhile, the thing that I done was, because everyone was talking about, The Master in relation to Scientology, and I just did this blog, so which was just a cheap joke about. Actually, it's about Adam Sandler. See, Adam Sandler has this unbelievable. Rob Schneider's career, and particularly in the case of Kevin James. How does one explain the success of Kevin James? Why is Kevin James popular? I mean, genuinely, why is he popular? You look at the movies he's made: Paul Blart Mall Cop, Zookeeper, Grown Ups, I Now Pronounce You Chuck. These are not films which anybody would be rightly proud. Here, he's co-writing. He casts himself. He writes himself a role as a lovable teacher, a bit of a rogue, who decides to become a mixed martial arts wrestling star in order to save the school music programme and stop Henry Winkler being out of a job. So it's like, oh, yes, and also to perhaps have a date with Salma Hayek. It's like you sit there and go, I'm writing a role for myself. How self-aggrandizing can I be? I'll be all of it. Don't take my word for it. Here's a clip.
I guess it was unrealistic to think that anybody would show up when everybody has their own problems.
You showed up.
You shut up.
I said you showed up.
So what exactly is the plan?
Well, first off, we got to get $48,000. That's a definite. Then we should probably help save Marty's job.
I can see that you put a lot of thought into it.
Well, how about this? How about we work out a plan, but we do it in a controlled area, which is my apartment?
Not a chance.
Okay, you're making me work at this. I understand. I get it. What if I dunk this ball in that hoop? Then you have dinner with me at my house Friday night. What do you say?
You dunk a basketball? Please.
Fine. Then take the bet.
Deal. Where are you going? Oh, no. Come on, that's cheating.
Oh, no, it's not.
That's not what I...
Dreams are about to come true.
Nightmares.
That go in?
That's hilarious.
It's hilarious. See, the gag is, okay, he's a lunky teacher, right? And he's a bit of a layabout. But when Henry Winkler is losing his job, he suddenly realises that he has to fight for something. And the way he will do that is by fighting wrestling matches. So you go, okay, so the gag is, right, he's going to be completely useless at mixed martial arts. But then what happens is, in absolutely self-aggrandising way, and I speak as somebody, incidentally, who is regularly accused of being the most self-aggrandising person in the world, even by my self-aggrandising standards, it was astonishing, then writes a role for himself in which the gag is that, well, actually, he turns out to be pretty great at everything. What if he wasn't just a rubber? What if he was, in fact, a brilliantly inspiring teacher who could somehow brilliantly inspire his pupils? What if Salma Hayek doesn't just think he's a complete waste? What if she actually does start to become interested in him and impressed by him? And what about if actually he loses 14, whatever it is, pounds or however many kilos it is whilst training for this thing, and genuinely, in the end, becomes somebody who's a force to be reckoned? You go, hold on a minute, hang on, you've jumped the shark. The beginning of this gag is Kevin James is a mixed martial artist. Boom tish, right? That's the gag. But then you go, no, but hold on a minute. I've trained for 14 months and I now want to be taken seriously as a mixed martial artist. The gag is Kevin James is a rubbish teacher. No, but hold on a minute. I'd like to be a rubbish who then becomes a good teacher. The gag is Kevin James is the kind of person who would walk into Henry Winkler's cast and say, would you do something for me because I'm too... But then realises that actually the music is the thing that will say... And, I mean, firstly, the unbelievable balderdash of saying, hey, well, it's a film that's, waving the flag for great teachers. That's like saying, yeah, go nurses or go fight. It's just a really cheap get out of jail free card because you're not earning that. Of course, everybody thinks that. Of course, teachers are great. Of course, nurses are great. Of course, families. You don't earn that. You certainly don't earn it by saying the gag is... And so the gag is set up originally in order to make the money to stop Henry Winkler losing his job. All he has to do is fight the matches and lose, okay? Here's how the maths of this work out.
Yes.
Very early on, somebody says, in order for Henry Winkler to keep his job, we need $40-something thousand, okay? So he says, okay, I can lose a whole bunch of fights and I'll get... Somebody says, if you win the fights, you get $50,000. But if you lose, you get... Okay, so the gag is, I'm going to go in and lose. What do you think is the possibility that figure that was mentioned about if you win will turn up some point near when they've nearly got enough money? Do you think suddenly there may be a case when actually you have to win them? And so the whole thing is shark jumping in extremis. The gag is... the useless, lunky guy who is a rubbish teacher decides to save a course by agreeing to be beaten up by people twice the size of him. That's a story. But then the story becomes, but it's Kevin James. So therefore he has to become a great teacher. He has to become a great and sexy date. He has to become somebody who might actually have a chance of not getting his head kicked in the ring with people who do this for a living. Plus, it's not funny ever.
Not once?
Nope.
That can't be true.
Turn your phone off. I can hear it buzzing from here.
It's just important.
Yeah,
it's production advice.
It's something, honestly, at one point you think, like, how about, what other superpowers would you like? Hey, he drives a motorbike. Hey, he wears a leather. Why not just make him fly? Why not just make him Superman? It's... I mean, you remember Rocky? It's still doing it. You remember Rocky, right? Yes. This is not a plot spoiler. The whole thing about Rocky, the underdog movie, at the end of the Rocky...
Does he box, yeah?
Yeah, but what happens at the end of Rocky?
I don't want to talk about what happens at the end of Rocky.
Okay, well, that doesn't happen.
Oh, okay. Well, the thing that doesn't happen...
The thing that happens at the end of Rocky... actually, no, to get this right. The thing that doesn't happen at the end... I'm going to stamp on that phone if you don't stop doing that. The thing that doesn't happen at the end of Rocky does happen at the end of Here Comes the Boom. And it's unforgivable.
It's from my brother, who's noticed that my texts keep coming in, and so he's decided to text more just to make it go buzz on the radio. Immature, irresponsible, abuse of the system. I was trying to listen to precisely what you were saying.
Thank you. So you get my central... Yes, I liked it. It was great, and it says, rah, rah, go teachers.
He hasn't done anything any good, ever. Has he? I don't think so.
I'm not going out to bat for him.
Well, if you can... So he's written this himself.
He is a co-writer.
Right. Well, you see, you're giving me ideas. I'm going to write the screenplay for mine.
Written by Alan Loeb and Kevin James. So basically, if you wrote this story...
I'm going to write my own screenplay in which I'm in a desperate situation, and then Kate Middleton, in association with my wife, rescues me from the jaws of disaster. I thought I'd just put that caveat in, just in case. But, this would be quite good. This is quite a good idea, where you could just make your role as fantastic as you want it to be.
I know, and it does say in the trib for the thing that he started preparing for this role 14 months earlier to get himself into shape. You go, but that's not the gag. The gag is lunky guy gets beaten up by trained wrestlers.
And you didn't laugh once?
No. At least I'm pretty sure I didn't. If anyone was in the screening with me and thought I did, then let me know.
There's usually a couple of decent gags, even in movies that aren't funny.
Henry Winkler's in it. I like Henry Winkler.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah. So is that enough reason to go and see it?
Not really.